is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dub. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
Okay, we are in the middle of the preseason. JJ Wang, anybody getting you excited that you thought might not be, or that you thought would be, and you're like, whoa, they look pretty good.
Honestly, I think we'll talk about most of these guys. It's always quarterbacks, but I kind of think Jalen Daniels and Caleb
I know it's
Williams to
coming.
be a little better than what I initially thought, and I think our boy Sam Darnold, which we'll get into a little bit later, might be another guy that you want to be like, oh, I'd never seen this coming, but here we are again with Sam Darnold. Just every year he just manages just to pop back up on the radar.
Yeah, well, I'll jump on that grenade later on in the show here with this as it's going on. I did
And
have.
something else. There was an injury scare from our boy Tyron Tracy, but he was managed to be back on the field. I was really worried. I was like, oh no, because he is a little older, so you don't know how they'll react to this kind of stuff. But he's back on the
Yeah,
field.
I freaked out a little bit. I was like, "Oh man, here we go! It's the fantasy courier's curse." And then
Yeah.
Addison's down for like just don't play for the Vikings is the thing. Have we? Did we record since JJ McCarthy went
I
down?
don't believe so. I don't believe so. Yeah, and then he went down. So yeah, it's been a rough week.
It's not a good week to be a Vikings. And McCarthy's out for the year, and then you got Tyron Tracy had the ankle. Then you had Addison went down, and then we'll have a conversation in a bit about Herbert there, and we'll see where we think what's going to pan out with all that. But it's an interesting time. I think the breaking news prior to we were supposed to record an hour before right now, and right after when we were supposed to recording, it officially came through, and I changed my rankings. I don't know if we got changed yours later on. That the starting quarterback for your Las Vegas Raiders is Gardner Minshew.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I had to go back in. I went back in and swapped them. Like I had him and O'Connell in areas and based them about where they would be. But the question, because I probably won't talk about him much in the quarterback portion of the show, is does that affect your thoughts any with Devontae Adams, knowing that O'Connell was basically targeting him like 7,000 times in the season? Or do you think Adams is going to eat? It doesn't matter which one of these guys it is.
I don't think it really affects Adam. I think Minshew likes to sling it. That's one thing you can say. It might not last for very long, but he can usually get through 4 or 5 games, and then everybody's like, all right, it is Gardner Minshew. Let's start shutting him down. But he can sling it from time to time, and I think he's going to be smart enough that hey, why not sling it to Devontae Adams like everybody else does, and he's going to make me look good. So it doesn't change much hope on Minshew. Sucks. I was kind of hoping O'Connell would win, but he wasn't looking all that great. They paid Minshew a lot of money, so money talks.
It always does, and but the thing is, maybe they're playing for the first round for the first pick. I mean, they're gonna be in fourth place behind my Denver Broncos, so maybe they're playing to get a better quarterback next year. So they're like, yeah.
It's very possible, but maybe they're going to give Minshew the opportunity because they paid him the money, and if it doesn't work out, probably midway through the season, you could always switch to O'Connell to see if he could show you anything more than what he already has. But O'Connell is what he is. He has opportunity.
Yeah, that's what I think. That I think you get the key things there. Is it comes down to the what they paid and where they're gonna. It's gonna follow, and the stash is back. That's all we got to know. The stash is the man this year. So this week I got to contribute to one article before we get into our quarterback show, and that would be wide receiver sleepers. So they were doing like earlier wide receiver sleepers than like later wide receiver sleepers. And I thought I'd toss out my guys here and tell me what you think as far as we're looking at sleepers. So this was the wide receiver sleepers. I believe off the top of my head, it was like from like 6 to 25, something like that, ECR or so. Maybe 30, might have been 30 actually. But I had Christian Kirk as my wide receiver sleeper, going with the idea that, if you look at him, when there was no Calvin Ridley, he posted 1,100 yards and he had 133 targets. Calvin Ridley's gone. Gabe Davis will be there for an every other week kind of thing. Brian Thomas Jr. is a rookie, so it could be, we don't know how he's going to land, but Trevor Lawrence is still going to land as the number 12 quarterback, and he's going to throw it to somebody. So is Christian? Would you think that Christian Kirk is a good guy for a sleeper guy you can get a little later that's going to give us a little bounce back this year.
I mean, honestly, I do. I mean, there's a lot of hate on Christian Kirk I've noticed over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I like Christian Kirk. I don't expect anything great out. I don't expect him to be like a high end wide receiver one or even a high end wide receiver two. Just looking for somebody like kind of like reliable. Um, but yeah, I think with all the hate, he's going to just end up going drafted lower and lower and lower. And I think you'll probably be able to pick him up a little later in the draft and be satisfied that you can put him in as your wide receiver three, and probably achieve a little more because I mean, that's Gabe Davis is hit or miss. We don't know what Brian Thomas is, so at least most of this year it's going to be Christian Kirk as your number one guy, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I love Brian Thomas. I mean, that dude is big and he is fast. So he's built to be like the DK AJ Brown mold, but can he play like them? Time will tell, like and everything. So this one I went deep here. So this was like 31 up. So once you get past that mess, you're pulling guys out of the side. So I followed our Atlanta Falcons. They got some good quarterback, a decent quarterback play. So our Mendoza line of quarterbacks. They got Drake London there, who we're touting him high, but I love the skill. He's been a good NFL player. Nothing spectacular. You got Kyle Pitts, who's supposed to be the next Travis Kelsey, but he's been more like the DJ Dove of tight ends. But they signed two guys in the offseason. They signed Rondell Moore, who now is out for the season. I got to dump him from my rankings. They just told me they got mad at me because I hadn't dumped him yet. And Darnell Mooney, who, for what you're going to pay for Darnell Mooney, which is probably, what, waiver wire or 15th round or something really late. Like he's wide receiver 69 right now. And so, yeah, children. And in 2021, Darnell Mooney got 1,055 yards with the Bears. And my thought is, as a guy you're not going to focus on, and he's now essentially the number two in Atlanta, to three if you count Pitts as a receiving option, and then the running backs that nobody's going to really guard him. So he could a guy that late, I mean, that's what a wide receiver five essentially, be worth a roster spot, getting over 1,000 yards.
I
What do
mean,
you think
I
of
mean,
Darnell
I, don't,
Mooney?
I mean, I guess it's possible, but when are you really going to be confident enough to start Darnell Mooney? Probably not going
Super
to
math.
be like it's probably not going to be in the beginning of the season. So are you going to be willing to hold him on to your roster? I mean, if you got a deep roster, but are you going to willing to hold on to him in the roster if you don't ever really intend on starting him? That's the question. I mean, he might have a good game here or there, but how many good games is he going to add up total that you're going to be willing to start him on a given week? Unless your team's really bad. Then,
Yeah, I mean, he's that dart thrower. Like I was wrong. I just found the information. I missed it on the site, but it was inside the top 40 for the first group and outside the top 40. So after the top, I mean, it's a hot mess of guys
Oh
in
yeah,
there. I was like, yeah,
yeah. I mean,
it's
always
worth a
good.
dart throw. Yeah, it was basically every Green Bay receiver was mentioned here,
Yep.
and I threw out Darnell Mooney. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. He's a guy I'm keeping an eye on. I've only got him in a dynasty league because your rosters are bajillion guys deep,
Yeah, yeah.
but I threw him in there. So, what we're gonna do the next couple of episodes, we might even throw out some bonus episodes for you. And we were talking prior. Next week, we might throw out a bunch of episodes without real like season information. Just talk about rankings because people want rankings. JJ Wang loves his rankings.
I know.
We are going to share DJ Dove's and JJ Wang's rankings show. And this week, we're going to start with quarterbacks. And if you're watching us, if you're not watching us, you can keep an eye on, you can listen to what we're saying, and you can check out our socials, and you will see our rankings on there. If you are watching us, you will see the screen showing JJ Wang is doing tier-based ranking, and I'm just doing my numerical rankings, which I basically have on the Fantasy Pro site where I get to put rankings on there. If you want to see any of those, they're on the website. And these pictures, I will find somewhere to put them on thefantasycouriers.com within the next couple of days, as so that you can have them there if you want to use them as you're going through. JJ Wang, could you give us like a 2-minute quick description of what is tier-based rankings? Many people don't know because they get their, hopefully nobody's buying any, but they're still selling. They get their magazine, they look, hey, this guy is, so if you look at my screen, you say, hey, look, Patrick Mahomes is ahead of Jalen Hurts, so I'm going to draft Patrick Mahomes because he's higher. How does your strategy work differently than just going numerical?
Well, my kind of strategy, you kind of like say you like three or four different guys, and it doesn't, and you kind of view them all equally. I mean, it's whether that's here nor there. It's not necessarily you've got a one or a two or a three, but you got a certain amount of people that you feel comfortable with taking in the range when they pop up. I mean, if you want to go, I rank this guy a little better, a little better, but that's just human nature. It's kind of like who you like better, but just gives you more of an option of drafting instead of just going with the best player available. Because usually, once you get a majority of the drafts, there's always like three or four or five guys that are kind of equal. You don't know who to pick. You just got all right, who's ranked higher, or who do I like better in case of tiers. So tiers is more of who I like better, and then the rankings as far as numbers, just who you got a number next to.
Yeah, and I think also if you look at like for if you're at a rankings guy and you're like, oh, I need a quarterback and I want the best one, then you're gonna go, okay, I need Josh Allen first. But if you're going with tiers, say your first tier that's on the screen right now is Allen, Mahomes, Jackson, Prescott, Hurts. Dang, you got Prescott high. I love you. Um, you're basically saying if I want a top quarterback, it's one of those five guys is going to be on my team. So when you get to like Lamar, you start to fret a little bit. If Prescott's drafted, you're like, okay, I've got to take Hurts if you want to get your top tier quarterbacks. So that you see them as close as you can, and then you're looking at them like, or if some guy gets snagged out, when you get to like three, you start to think about it. Four, you're like, oh gosh, I got to get him, or I'm jumping down a tier per se as you're looking at it. Is what
Absolutely, it's just all about safety.
yeah, and some people are really good at tiers. Other people are like end up creating tiers and going with the numerical rankings. And there's within fantasy pros where I can tier it within rankings, but I have a job as well. So somebody pays me to do this one day, and then I will tier within my rankings. Until then, they're gonna be numbered one through
Yeah, I mean,
16 in the
honestly, I
first
just think
place.
tiers are a little easier because I don't have to put a number. I can just put them in a group and then not have to worry about spending an extra 5, 10 minutes being like, hey, this guy's one, this guy's five. I just put them all in the same group because, like I said, we'll just start with like my tier one. I got Josh Allen, Mahomes, Jackson, Prescott, Hurts, right? Like you said earlier. These are just guys that I know that they've done it before. They're reliable. If they play 17 games, they're going to give you high end quarterback play. Now, would I take Josh Allen over Dak Prescott? Absolutely. I mean, if I would definitely. But if you look at Prescott numbers, he plays 17 games. He's about as reliable as a quarterback as there is. He might throw in some stinkers, but overall season, you're going to end up very happy with him being, a top five, top six tight end or a top quarterback, and that's all you can ask for.
Man, I'm looking here, and it's funny. I think you look at my top five. Our big difference there, and it's not that big of a difference because you're basically having like six, seven, eight. Is Kyler Murray? I have Dak way down at 11 because of those zero stinkers, and I have Kyler as my number four. So I mean, like generally, Josh Allen is most people's one. Then it's some combination of Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, and then and Jalen Hurts usually probably if we were ranking for most people probably falls about four. But I think we talked earlier in the season about Kyler Murray with the running that he's going to give you, the cheat code, plus Marvin Harrison Jr., plus James Conner's a receiving back, and they drafted another receiving back. And they got McBride, who's supposedly going to pop off again this year. To me that makes Kyler up there. Like within your tier, I wouldn't be scared too much to put Kyler at tier one, or even thinking like next year he could easily be tier one if everything like we're thinking is gonna pops off with Marvin Harrison Jr. If he's a flop, then Kyler's doomed. But if Harrison Jr. is the next guy, easily he could
Yeah,
fluctuate him.
it's not so well. So my issue with my tier twos, I kind of got like I don't know what it's called, but my tier two, I got Kyler Murray, Burrow, and Stroud, right? So I know these guys can do it, but I just don't have like the full confidence in them yet. Like I know that Hurts, Prescott, they've all been there multiple years. I mean, it's been consecutive, and it is. I mean, and they always end up. These guys, I just have a little bit of question. It's not like a huge like I'm not disappointed to have them. They are tier two. I would love to have any of these guys, but like Kyler Murray, just I mean, there is question mark as far as injury goes. So I mean, it's still in the back of my head. Burrow, he's coming off the injury from last year. I mean, it's still in the back of my head. And then CJ Stroud, he's done it. Like he had a really, really fantastic rookie year, but I like to make sure he can do it one more time before I'm investing my whole team on his shoulders. If that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. Like CJ Stroud's the guy I honestly have been struggling. I've had him move up, I've had him move down, I've had him all over the place because the he doesn't run. So there's like a gaggle of people. Like if I was tiering, I would tier almost CJ Stroud with Dak and Tua and Burrow because they don't have the mobility to them. But there's a good chance they could all of those guys could throw for 4,000 yards and 30 some odd touchdowns because of the way their offenses are created. And that's why, like, actually in my rankings, 9, 10, 11, 12 is Burrow, Tua, Dak, and CJ Stroud. And then Jared Goff, even at 13, he's my picture on there, but they could be there. So it's funny, like, your tier twos have those guys. Your tier threes look like it's Richardson, Williams, and Daniels. I'm guessing those are the up and coming, mobile, could become the next best thing since sliced bread. Is that about right?
Yeah, so when I did my tier 3 and tier 4, this is how it looked. I mean, honestly, it depends on what kind of manager you are. If you want safety, I could easily see moving tier 4 teams in front of the tier 3 team. But if you're looking at upside and like excitability and people that can, finish a little higher, you want that splash move. I think my tier 3 of Richardson, Williams, and Dana, I think the ceiling is so much higher as of right now. I know it's unproven. I totally get that, but it's the excitement level over the tier 4 guys of who have Tua, Lawrence, Herbert, Goff, Love, and Purdy. I know they all can do it. I mean, but like they're not exciting. They don't have like that top 5 capability per se right now. So that's just how I did this. If you wanted to put the tier 4 as a tier 3, totally understand, and move the tier 3 to the tier 4. I've got no issues with that, but I'd be a little more excited with Anthony Richardson on my team as opposed to saying, Jared Goff or Tua. It's just like kind of an excitement level for me.
Yes, yeah. As my thought as I'm looking through them is I would probably have your tiers flipped because on mine, like
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, I have higher because of the running, but I got Jordan Love at 6 because you made me fall in love with him in the offseason. And my 8th guy is Brock Purdy, who you made me fall in love with because I'm thinking Brock Purdy, he might not throw for 4,000 yards, but Christian McCaffrey's gonna get a bajillion dump off touchdowns, right? And then Kittle short, Debo. I mean, Debo will probably he's gonna run some, but Debo gets his little flares, and Ayuk they're gonna resign Ayuk because it hasn't nothing's really imminent yet. But I have a feeling they're gonna do that, and I just think I like the tier 4 for me for the same reason you said. That's like the group of guys that I think I know that where their floor is. I know where their ceiling is. It's probably not too far off from each other.
Yeah, yeah.
That so for in those guys in there, I could see them all being interchangeable. And that's why they're in your tier. So you're looking at for your tier 4 is to a Lawrence, Herbert, Goff, Love, and Purdy. They're in there. There's only one exception there that I don't know what to do with him, and but they all have similar play styles, and I like really like the Richardson, Williams, and Daniels. That's basically if you're wrong, you're done
Oh
with
yeah,
them. Like
absolutely. Well,
and
it's
and
like it. It just depends on as a manager, are you willing to take that shot? I mean, a lot of people are. They like that upside, and but like either way. But I definitely like. I mean, I like all the tier 4 guys. I mean, I would not be upset as if any of those guys were like my QB1. So I mean, they're still gonna perform.
so the question I have for you falls into one of your tier 4 guys, and that would be Justin Herbert. Justin
Question.
Herbert came out on fire, came out lights out that rookie. Everybody's like, "Oh, dude, he was the best guy in this draft, probably." And it's been ho hum since. But he's got the foot injury. What could that nag and slow him? Like he's not on this screen for me. I will spoiler alert. He's my number 17. So basically, one of our biggest differences so far, other than your tiers can be interchangeable, is I have Aaron Rodgers at 14, who I'm not super fan of, but if he plays, he could go higher. And I have Herbert at 17. Are you scared of where if this thing could linger for Herbert, or do you think he's just gonna he's not a runner, so it won't kill him. But what about with his passing and what's your thoughts on that as you go forward?
I think he's going to play through it. I mean, I think he'll be out there. I mean, I think the offense is going to protect him a little bit from throwing like tier 1 numbers. But at one point, Justin, he was like one of those tier 1, tier 2 guys. But
Mhm.
over a period of time, I mean, he's fallen. I mean, I don't see there much difference with Jared. I mean, the offense might be a little better with Jared Goff. I mean, Jordan Love's only done it for a half a season. So, I
Sure.
mean, Herbert's done it for a lot. I mean, even last year when Herbert was in a game, I mean, he was still very productive. He just missed, just had some missed games. And this year with the foot, yeah, of course, might not be like a tier 2 guy, but I think he's still safe enough that if he's on your team, you're not going to be disappointed if if you just don't set your expectations too high. Like I'm not setting my expectations for Herbert to be a tier 2 guy, and then as he finishes as like a low tier 4 guy. So I mean, I'm keeping him realistic here, man. But I still like him.
So does the age keep Aaron Rodgers at a tier 4 for you?
Kind of a little bit. I mean, I'm still interested in seeing what Aaron Rodgers is coming off the injury. Like he's in my next tier, um, with a group of guys that are kind of like similar to what he's got going on. But I mean, I got confidence in Aaron Rodgers, but I kind of want to see it first before I'm putting my team on his shoulders. But I mean, at that point, it'll be too late because you're not gonna be able to get him anyway. But yeah, I mean, there's just a little worry, a little more worry as opposed to a tier 4 guy.
Yeah. And by the way, as you're watching, if you can't see us, I don't know where our heads are. It's just funny. It pops up differently when you have the video than where they are if you're watching the video. So apologies for covering anything up. If you can put things side by side. So let's jump to the second group here. This would be JJ Wang's 5 through 8 tiers in my 17 through 39. We're not going to hit everybody. We're talking about guys that are in here, guys that we have in different areas. And as we were just talking, JJ Wang, your tier 5 guys. What's the connection there?
Yeah, so I got Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Stafford, and Mayfield. I mean, these are like some veterans, some older. I know Baker Mayfield isn't that old, but he's on like his 12th team. Feels like he's been around forever, you know. So I mean, he's been last year. He was his first year of productability. So I mean, there is a lot of question there. Can he repeat what he did last year? So that's there to see. And then Stafford is Stafford. I mean, he's going to be productive, but like he's getting older. Cousins is getting older, coming off an injury. Rodgers is just old, coming off an injury. So I mean, I'm confident in these guys, but I don't want these to be my QB1s because I mean, I feel like this. I mean, there's just a little more worry here of these old guys being able to carry my team like they could in the past.
Is this where you're hitting the lines though? If you're in a one quarterback league, that you're like, you know what, I got really good receivers, really good running backs. I'm going to stream the crap out of quarterbacks, so I'm going to draft Kirk Cousins because you can get him fairly cheap. And then if during this bye week, maybe I'll throw one of the Pittsburgh quarterbacks in there or somebody. I mean, it's hard in home leagues because in home leagues, even if you're like it's a one quarterback league, they still draft like 32 quarterbacks, and you only need one. But this is sort of where that line is, correct?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm confident that these guys can get it done. I mean, but it's all about question marks, and these guys are like, if you want a quarterback league, and you're able to Aaron Rodgers is your starter, and he has somewhat a resemblance of what an Aaron Rodgers, season is like. You're going to be very, very happy because you're able to get some very good guys at other positions, and you can just skip the quarterback position until really late.
Yeah, this is where we got a couple guys that we're going to pop in differently. So when you get to my 23rd guy is Caleb Williams. I have a feeling I should probably move him up, and he might happen before the season because you got him in tier 3. I've got him at 23. But the way if he does what he showed the other day, I've got to move him up there.
Other than the fact that you don't like him, I cannot understand how Caleb Williams is next to Bo Nix. That makes 0 sense.
The running is what
Will Levis. You've got Will Levis ahead of Caleb Williams. That is absolutely. You got Russell Wilson.
Wilson was my next guy.
You just don't. Obviously, you just don't like Williams more than what his play is on the football field. Obviously, I mean, that's completely fine. It's a great thing about fantasy. You're allowed to like and dislike who you. But I think that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, looking at what I saw the other day. He's one I missed when I went through and redid. He could be. I might move the slide back up tier. He's got legs moving. I have to move him right up there near the Golf Rodgers, like 13, 14. If he's going to run and be thrown to all those weapons he's got, at least that alleviates some of the risk of putting him at like 7. Like there's people that have him like top 10, and it's ridiculous to me. But not the missing out on him at 23 because I think he's going to get drafted, or he's going to be drafted too early for me no matter where he is. But I think if anything looks like it looked like the other day, then I just don't like him, and he's going to be really good. So, and that's what I got to that's going to be the Aaron Rodgers. I don't like Aaron Rodgers, but he's a good quarterback kind of deal. So that one could change if you look at my Fantasy Pro stuff coming. That could be my one big change. I'm not moving I'm not moving Russell Wilson. He's going to be another one we disagree on. I'm following Mike Tomlin, his quarterbacks. He had Kenny Pickett who was Garbo, but Russell Wilson is a guy who's shown that he can play NFL quarterback. Justin Fields is just fumbling away that even a possibility of having that job. So Russell Wilson's gonna have a whole season to throw to George Pickens, who we think is pretty good. He's got two running backs where Najee can catch out of the backfield. I heard a stat. It's amazing. Did you know that Jalen Warren has never caught an NFL touchdown out of the backfield? He's got decent tight end there in Fryermuth, and I think he's got enough weapons that Russell Wilson at 21. I mean, these are the guys that are your QB2s, streamers. Even if you're in a one quarterback league, that I think putting him in Pittsburgh, who always manages to win. So if Pittsburgh's going to win, Russell Wilson has to do good. If not, they might finally have a 7-9 season, which they haven't done under Tomlin.
Yeah, I mean, but until Russell Wilson gets, and I assume Russell Wilson will be named starter. But as of right now, I don't know 100%. So until we get someone that's named a starter, I can't see how I would draft them anyway with a top 20, like to be the starter on my fantasy team. Like I don't even know if he's. I don't even know I don't know how long his hook's going to be. First game, he could just be like the same old Russell Wilson last 2 years. There's just way too much question. Like, I don't even know if he's a starter. So if he come out right now and said, "Hey, Russell Wilson is the starter," I mean, I might move him up in there to tier 7 with all the other unreliable starters that I got.
You mean as opposed to reliable guys like Deshaun Watson or Drake May or
hold on.
Bryce Young?
So
I was gonna get you for mine.
So these are more of like a miscellaneous tier that I'm really not sure what to do with. I'm way more excited. Like I wish I could put Drake May way higher, but I'm not sure if he's even going to start. I mean, he might start. I know you don't like Drake May either. He's probably at QB 73 in your rankings. It wouldn't surprise me. But
33.
Bo Nix, I understand there's a chance Bo Nix could hit. I mean, I'm not saying he can't. Bryce Young, I think there's still a chance. But these are just guys I would prefer to have over someone like a Derek Carr who might not make it through the season. A Daniel Jones that might not make it through the season. Geno Smith who might not make it through the season. And then the rest of my tier 7 is Will Levis and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold might make it through the season because they don't have anything else. But like I'm just interested in tier 6, and then tier 7. There's just not really interest. I don't want any of these guys on my team because I think they suck.
Did you say tier 7? You think they suck?
Yeah, I don't like them.
So
I like Sam Darnold, but
I was gonna say, what would Sam Darnold, if we think he's throwing to one of the best receivers in the game, he's got a really good running back, pass catching running back in Aaron Jones. Hawk's coming back sooner than we maybe thought, and you got okay when Addison was back. Would he be a tier 5 kind of quarterback, considering he just learned from Kyle Shanahan how to play football? So that means he's with Rodgers, Cousins, Stafford, Mayfield, who are guys that maybe you're not looking at it for what they are, but for what they got. So those guys, you look at Rodgers, Cousins, Stafford, Mayfield, you're like, okay, but they're also throwing to Garrett Wilson. They're throwing to Drake London. They're throwing to Kupp and Puka. They're throwing to to Mike Evans. Would that make Darnold valuable because he's now learned? Because my argument before is he stunk in college. He got drafted too soon and he was too young and he got a chance. Now he's learned the game. Maybe he's Geno Smith.
Look, you don't have to sell me on Sam Darnold. You know that I've been a Sam Darnold fan for a long time. I've had a soft spot in my heart. You never have. It looks like you're kind of coming around to my part. It's not that I don't like Sam Darnold. I do, but I mean, he's had a lot of years to produce, a lot of opportunities. He just hasn't done it. I don't know if I can give you tier 5 because everybody in tier 5 has done it before. Sam Darnold hasn't. But what I can do, I can move him up in there in that tier 6 miscellaneous. We're like, all right, I'm definitely interested. But at the end of the day, you still like to see it before you're going and invest in it. So I can definitely give Sam Darnold a tier 6 jump, but I don't know if I can go much higher than that right now.
What do you think Sam Darnold's ceiling could be for this season? QB what?
I mean, I think Sam Darnold could possibly get maybe like a top, like around the 20, 21, 22 area. But it's going to be hard for me to predict anything more than that because he's had so many opportunities and he's just failed all the time. And
but I can't hold it. You finally got me on him, and I can't hold it against him because he was with the Jets, and the Jets are
I
terrible. The
agree.
Jets, they're run terribly, and so
I agree.
you said when I said that question, my brain said 15. I was like, if the stars align like that, I think his ceiling could be QB 15 because you're looking at 15. That's where you're getting all those gunslingers. Like for me, it's like 12. Like you look at
I,
11 through 15 is Dak, C.J. Stroud, Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence. They're all just slinging the ball. So if he's throwing to Jay Jetta, boom, he
I
could get.
understand. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can understand Sam Darnold finishing at 15,
Yeah,
but
same.
there's no way you're going to draft him at
No, 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 no,
15.
no, 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 no. No, sorry, the
Yeah, I
question was
mean,
more where could he finish?
yeah.
Like
I mean,
quarterback wise.
I
Yeah, yeah.
guess he could.
No, no, I'm not driving 15.
I mean, I don't know if I can put him above anybody that I have in my tier 4. I think that I don't think I can go that high. But would I be surprised if he finishes better than Baker Mayfield? I mean, I think there's a possibility. Maybe Kirk Cousins. I think there's a possibility. So yeah, I mean, I see it, but I mean, I've also got to temper my I don't want to fall in love again and just have my heart broken. I mean, I have a
Yeah.
tendency to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we're getting down to the yuck stuff. So like at 29, I have Gino, then Daniel Jones, then Derek Carr, then Jacoby. I have Brissett and May side by side, 22, 23. Then I put Jimmy Garoppolo there, thinking, all it takes is one Matt Stafford being old back injury, Justin Fields right there for some of the that got for in case Russell Wilson and Tyrod because Daniel Jones has looked absolutely terrible. Stidham just in case he does win the job for some weird reason, and then Aiden O'Connell and I threw in Spencer Rattler because I love Spencer Rattler and I think my Spencer Rattler throw in there because I think Derek Carr is terrible right now. And I was on the train last year. Strength Kool-Aid recently is kind of like the same reason you put Sam Howell in there. Would that be about right? Because your tier
Yeah,
8 is Russell Wilson, Justin Fields because you don't know who's going to be quarterback. Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell because they're both there to team, and then Sam Howell.
yes, I mean, pretty much. I could have put Spencer Rattler in there if I wanted to. I just don't like Spencer Rattler, so I didn't do it. Actually, I kind of. So I mean, yeah, like any of the backups for the tier 7 guys. I mean, is a possibility. Spencer Rattler's fine. I don't think I'm really interested in Giants backup, but Sam Howell. I mean, Sam Howell has looked somewhat fantasy
Yeah,
relevant last
fantasy.
year. He
Yeah.
had some good games, so I know he can do it. Spencer Rattler, I just don't think he's really all that good. So I don't even know if he can do it. I mean, sure, he can do it in the preseason, something here and there, but yeah, I mean, Spencer Rattler, you could throw him in there. I wouldn't have anything against it.
So you gave me your tiers. I made your tiers right before the Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell stuff came through. Would Gardner move into tier 7 if you hadn't given me your tiers before? Would he, or is he still tier 8, thinking that O'Connell could come up? Does Gardner fluctuate for you from a tier 8 now that you know he is the starter?
I mean, you can put him in tier 7 if you wanted, but I think the leash for Gardner Minshew is probably a little shorter than any of those other guys. I think Derek Carr has got a little bit of a longer leash. It's going to take a lot for him, feel a little bit more to um, be benched. I think if Gardner Minshew comes down and just absolutely sucks that first week, I think the next week Aiden Connell might be able to slide in and be the starter. I mean, I think that's how short it might be. I think David Carr probably got at least 4 or 5 weeks, maybe.
And
I mean,
so Russell Wilson is he in tier 8 because you dislike him? You love Justin Fields and dislike Russell Wilson, kind of like I'm in the Caleb Williams kind of conundrum because you love Justin Fields, but you've admitted that based upon everything we've seen, he's played himself out of the starting quarterback. Maybe he's Taysom Hill this year. That'd be awesome. Could you imagine if Justin Fields got the Taysom Hill role? That would be amazing.
yeah, yeah, but I mean, this is why I mean, I love Justin Fields, but I'm also understand that if he can't hold on to the ball and can't make the right decisions, that he's not going to be the great starter. But we've seen in the past that if he does get the opportunity, he can run a lot. So he's still a good fantasy producer. And if Russell Wilson could win the job and be named starter, I could move him into tier 7, but I'm not going any higher because I don't think Russell Wilson is all that good. I think I'd probably take. Well, I don't know. I'd probably any of those guys in tier 7. I'm not gonna be on my team, but I'm not interested in Russell Wilson to put him in tier 5 because I mean he's just hasn't produced in a while. In tier 6, I'm just not interested. So as high as I can go is tier 7 if he ends up winning the job because I don't know how long his leash is. I mean, how long is Mike Tomlin going to go with Russell Wilson if he's playing like poop?
He's played some poopy quarterbacks the last couple of years, and he let him keep playing. I don't know. So it'll be interesting
Like
to see.
and they're also, but there really wasn't that much behind them, so he didn't have much choice. I think Justin Fields, he might be able to spark a little bit. I'm not going to say he's great. I understand that, but I mean, he could spark something. He's still young enough to where he might be able to do something. But like I said, it's hard to be interested in any of the tier 7, tier 8 guys. I mean, one quarterback leagues, I don't even think they should be drafted on your team in any way.
Okay, as we close it up, I'll ask you two questions. So if we're looking, you have tiers 1, 2, 3, 4 we talked about, and I'm looking like my 1 through 16. What quarterback, let's say not named Allen, Jackson, or Mahomes, do you think has the best chance to be QB1 at the end of this year of your top tier four, top four tiers?
I think it could. I think it could be Kyler Murray. I mean, I think if Kyler Murray's. I mean, like I say, he's. I don't want to bring injuries up, but I mean, he's got to play a whole season. If he plays 16 games, 17 games, he's gonna have to play all the games, obviously. But I think he's going to be good enough. He's going to be an awesome, awesome quarterback because he can run. He's got Marvin Harrison. That's I think you're going to be able to throw to from the gig. I can't wait to tier Marvin Harrison. That might get a little out of control.
The
But
inverse Caleb Wills.
I think Kyler Murray with his running ability, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he could like maybe pop up into that tier 1 type guy. And we're talking about Kyler Murray being a tier 1 guy next year without any question.
That was going to be my answer. So I'll zag to a guy I don't even like, and that's going to be Anthony Richardson because of the cheat code. I mean, he's got Michael Pittman Jr., who's amazing. He's got Jonathan Taylor, who's amazing. He's got Adonai A.D. Mitchell, who's looking like he could be a good guy. And then Josh Downs there, and if one of those Titans does anything, Anthony Richardson's got a full arsenal there to take with him, along with his Lamar Jackson kind of running. So he's like Lamar Jackson 2.0 possibly, so he could be the guy that sneaks up. But yeah, my answer was Kyler, but Anthony Richardson a short second. If you got to go with a pocket passer, it's probably Joe Burrow would be my guess there. Uh, Going to the dumpster fire, your tier 5 through 8, my 17 through 39. Which one of these guys has the best chance to end the year as a QB1? As a QB1. So these are the guys that are kind of like, I don't want on my team, but who could be a QB1 this year?
I mean, there's not very much option here, right? I feel like the only option that I have is maybe Aaron Rodgers. I think maybe Aaron Rodgers just balls out one more year. I mean, other than that, I don't really trust Kirk Cousins. Right? I mean, I like Kirk Cousins, but I don't know if he's going to be top 12 QB1 relevant anymore. Stafford, I'm not confident about it. Mayfield did it last year, but I think the only one I'm confident enough in would be Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, we know the answer is Will Levis, but I'm going to leave that one.
You know, the answer is not Will Levis.
I look at Stafford, like I want to say Cousins, but I think Stafford has a possibility because Cooper Kupp is fully healthy. So you're going to get Cooper Kupp wide receiver 1. Puka's going to be the number 2 on that team. But if he's the 2 to Cooper's 1, they're both great wide receivers. And then Kyron dump-offs, that could bode for Stafford. I mean, to be QB12, that's what Trevor Lawrence was last year, and we thought he stunk. So if that's possible, then Matt Stafford could easily do that with those weapons.
Yeah, I mean it's very possible. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. I think he would probably be my second option there, but like there's just not a lot of faith in any of these guys to be able to bring in a good fantasy season here.
And the thing is, it's a passing league these days. So quarterbacks are you go through a couple of the guys, the cheat code guys, and you go, what is it, quarterback 6 or 7 through quarterback 20. The statistical numeric value change isn't astronomical. Whereas if you go from running back 6 to running back 20, boom, you're doomed. But it's so quarterbacks, you can wait. Are you a guy? Last question, then I want you to give us some wisdom. Would you rather wait on say one quarterback league? Or even you can say it for 2 as you want to. Are you a quarterback waiter or a quarterback getter? Meaning you'll want to get one of those first 2 tiers, or are you willing to be happy with tier 4?
I mean,
maybe
I'm
he can
a
come back.
quarterback getter. I mean, if I want the most important position on my team, I need reliability there. I don't want to have to worry every year or every week. Like it's just going to be. I just want that confidence level. So I would like to be one of the guys. Pull the trigger first on like a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Just so I don't have to worry about it all year. I mean, I can set it and forget it. Not have to worry about it's bad matchup this year or this week, and maybe I need to bring in somebody else. I don't really want to do that at the quarterback position because I'm already doing it everywhere else. I just need at the most important part of your life, you need some stability, and the quarterback's very important. And I'd like to have that stability.
And yeah, I think because of what I just said, I always go the opposite. Like in Dynasty, I do have some of those top tiers because I've traded to keep them for years. But in redraft, I mean, I have a team. I'm in big trouble. Bo Nix and Levis are my starters. And that's a little
That is
too
awful.
terrible.
You're
That's
going to be
awful.
worried about that. You're going to be worried about that. I mean, it's fun to draft that way. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I draft like that all the time, and it's fun to draft. But you can't tell me you're not going to go into every week like, oh, now who do I start, Nix or Levis? I like both of
Well,
these guys. So I'm going to be shooting a breeze, and then they're both going to give you like 3 points in a week, and you're going to be screwed. Especially, is that really who you want in the fantasy playoffs on your team to
hey,
care? I mean, yeah, if you win and it works out, yeah, you look like a genius, sure. You can brag about it all you want. But the chances of it working out is probably slim to none, my man.
but you know what I'm rolling in with. The thing is, I'm doing that. So, but I sacrifice because it's Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase, and Mark Andrews. So, Mark Andrews, we'll see, is my number one tight end. Jamar Chase, I got high, and Jonathan Taylor is fairly high. So it's always that trade off. Like if you take Josh Allen in the third, that means you're probably missing out on that. So it's always that balance in what you want
I'd
to
rather have
elsewhere.
Josh Allen than Mark Andrews.
Yeah, but it depends what you get later on. Like you can do better than my quarterbacks, but it was an auction draft, so I did terrible. I was too busy auctioneering. But yeah,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
so
it's fine. Like I said, I would rather have the stability like at quarterback than at tight end. Like I'd rather stream a tight end than having to maybe stream a quarterback because tight end's a bad example because
I'd
we're
rather have
actually
three tight ends. That's top three, or else it's
so.
so. Okay, give us some wisdom. Let's get out of here, and everybody, just so you know, next couple shows will probably be less news because not a lot's happened because the last couple games someone's gonna play. It'll be more about just the rankings, getting it through in our arguments, and they'll be a little quick, shorter, hopefully.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a big fan of rankings, but rankings are fun. They're a good starting point, but don't necessarily build your whole life around the rankings. Throw a wild card in here or there. If you don't know what you're doing, you can absolutely win a fantasy league just by following rankings. I mean, it happens all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I mean, don't be afraid to drop down 2 or 3 spots because you like a guy a little more than another guy. Rankings aren't always right. If somebody's right, they're usually never right. So just because it says that in the beginning of the season, probably not going to be like that at the end of the season. So I mean, you got to use a little bit of your heart along with what you know overall. So as always, trust yourself and trust the process.